Sandbag takes some oomph too. It takes like you making some noise. You can see it. You could see like a mindset switch in somebody.
We have all this noise going around that we have to train in the modern way. And not to say it's wrong or anything, it's just not the only way. And sandbags work.
The sandbags are fun. Like, it helps you get ready for real life situations. I'm strengthening my back so it doesn't hurt when I just bend over to pick something up. I always recommend start out lighter than you think. No matter how heavy you can deadlift, if you've never trained with sandbags, it's a different feeling.
Sandbags are not new, but they're just newer to me. Strongman people have been using this for a long time.
If you have that crazy stimulus that goes through your body, it can almost supercharge the other exercises.
All right, today we're going to be talking about all things sandbags. You guys mind introducing yourselves and so we get this party started?
I'm JB. I own Freedom Strength Company, and we sell sandbags.
The best sandbags.
Yeah.
Let's
I didn't want to say that.
Indestructible sandbags.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm Cody, also known as the Stone Circle. I make videos about sandbags.
There we go. I've been messing around with some sandbag stuff, and Seema's been messing around with some sandbag stuff. I see him do stuff sometimes. I'm like, man, he makes it look good, makes it look easy. And then I try it, and I'm like, damn, stuff's pretty hard. But I have been noticing that my in just a few weeks of messing around with the sandbags, I've noticed that my back is starting to move a little bit better. It seems like the lower back especially starting to open up because lifting off the floor is quite different than just lifting a barbell.
Yeah.
What are some of your thoughts on that, and how long you've been doing some of this for?
I've been using sandbags for probably about like 3 years or so, maybe a little longer. Yeah, I totally agree that it really helps build that lower back and my entire back. I'll say my back seems bigger that after using sandbags, and it makes it more resilient, protects your back. I feel like a lot of times I'll get comments on videos like, oh, you're going to hurt your back. It's like, no, I'm strengthening my back so it doesn't hurt when I just bend over to pick something up, because you don't, it's more of a realistic movement when you're bending over to pick up a sandbag than like barbells or dumbbells or anything like that. But yeah, my lower back has definitely gotten stronger. Notice it when I do conventional lifts, when I go back to them, that I don't feel the need for a belt. Like, my whole core and my lower back seems so much stronger that I never use a belt anymore.
Yeah, for me personally, my lower back feels different than it did when I was squatting and deadlifting, and I was lifting a lot more weight back then too. So there's a lot of other factors in there. But more recently, I just am feeling better. I think combination of rope flow, combination of just deloading myself and not getting myself so compressed from some of those other exercises. I'm not saying that the sandbag can't compress you, because of course, you start lifting heavy sandbags, it can take its toll on you. But yeah, I've been feeling really good, and I feel more mobile. I feel more athletic. I was telling Nsima the other day, I feel like I fucked somebody up, which is a good feeling. Before I felt, just walking around in day-to-day life, I felt slower. I felt like I needed to be more careful. I felt like if I sneezed or something like that, my back would go out.
That has actually happened to me the past before too.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that stupid?
Yeah, I felt like kind of fragile, and I was always like, well, it's the training, it's all the training I'm doing. And then you kind of learn like, okay, well, maybe I'm overdoing my training. Maybe some of that training is causing a lot of this stiffness and stuff like that. And I recognize that, and over time I started to really address it and started to do stuff about it. And more recently have been really taking that to as far a degree as I can, because I want to feel awesome, and I want to be able to progress with sprints and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm getting older. I'm 40 now, and I always like the bodybuilding style. I don't look like it, but I like training that way. But to me, the sandbags are fun. And like I always say, you train for life. Like, it helps you get ready for real life situations. I have 3 kids. When you pick up a kid off the floor, if they fall, how do you pick them up? Like, your barbell, yes, you're strong at a barbell, but it helps you in more real life situations. Like years ago when my dad, he passed away, but getting him out of a wheelchair when he came up from the hospital. I mean, I can deadlift 405, and he was 160 pounds, and like to pick him up out of the wheelchair, I was like, holy shit, this is heavy. It's a total different type of weight, and I just like it because they're fun to train with, build all those other muscles, but in the end, it's fun.
the hand involvement. Can you guys talk a bit about that and maybe what you noticed as you developed strength with sandbags, but also getting your hands involved with it?
You want to go?
Yeah, I've always had kind of a weak grip, but I've just noticed that my ability to, it's not necessarily the max strength of my hands that's improved, but my ability to keep using them for a long time that I've noticed. I'm able to just, now when I hold on to a sandbag, I can just hold on to it for what feels like forever. I think there's something about sandbags force your grip to adapt very quickly, because with sandbags, often the weakest link is thrown to the front right away, and that is often the grip. And so just forcing myself to improve that strength has happened very rapidly, I've noticed, with sandbags, and it seems to carry over to pretty much anything. Like hanging on a pull-up bar is a lot easier now. Just everything feels easier with the after working with sandbags.
Yeah, it's your fingers, but also like your wrist and your connection from your wrist to your forearm, because you have to kind of like cup it a little bit, right? And so that's, I mean, I can't think I have never used that for anything else. I know probably for you, maybe with grappling, right?
Neckties and stuff like that, but
yeah, I'm not really, I don't usually use that. So that's an important factor too, I think.
Yeah, it's like the false grip like you would do in gymnastics rings training. It's a lot like that. So I have noticed that if I try to do a false grip pull-up, it is much easier now where your hands are bent like this. But that's a completely foreign thing when you're lifting barbells, because, yeah, you would never do this, really.
Right.
JB, and you too, like, what is it that you guys notice? Because I think sometimes when people look at sandbag training, they look at the way people pick it up and they're like, oh my God, this is going to blow out my back, right? This is going to hurt.
It's not Stuart McGill-like.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. Keeping the spine neutral when lifting everything, right? So when people start, is there anything that you guys would suggest they should maybe pay attention to, or changes in the way they lift that they need to kind of think about?
Yeah, like I always recommend start out lighter than you think in your head.
Yeah.
Because no matter how heavy you can deadlift or anything, like if you've never trained with sandbags, it's a different feeling. So always start out lighter because it is a different lift. And just positioning. I mean, I have videos online and show you, and there's plenty of people in our community that lift them. And it's all about positioning and where you're keep the sandbag. If it's too far out in front of you, like it's going to be hard. Like you want to center yourself over top of the sandbag. That's at least how I do it. And like pull it into my stomach and then stand up with it. I always recommend like start out with lighter than you think and get the movement down, get all the movements down with the lighter bag. Then you can progress to heavier. But then you'd still use the lighter bag for certain other exercises.
Seems like with the lighter weight, you get to, put a lot more speed into it.
Yeah, like
it almost looks like an Olympic lift in some way.
Yeah, when they're a certain weight, it's almost more like explosive. Like I like being able to do it from the ground right up to the shoulder without lapping it. But yeah, I have to do light weights for that.
Have you ever tweaked your back with sandbag stuff from the beginning to now?
With sandbags, no, I haven't.
Isn't that kind of interesting? Like, I mean, I've kind of noticed it too, because I felt very wary when I started training with sandbags because the back positioning, when you train with barbells, neutral spine. Outside of maybe doing a Jefferson curl, right? You're not going to purposefully create create something other than a neutral spine, like more of a flex spine. But when starting lifting with sandbags, and I was creating more and more curvature in the spine when lifting, it felt like because I was creating so much tension within the core and squeezing the bag that almost helped keep the back safe when lifting. That's my bro science way of thinking about it. But what do you guys think about that?
There's something I've been thinking about recently is looking further up the chain. I was talking with Dave recently. You just recently had him on the channel, Caveman Dave Man. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how he was having trouble with his bicep. And he went to a chiropractor, and they told him it was because his, I think he said his lower traps weren't engaging. And once he started doing this exercise to engage his lower traps, his biceps stopped hurting. I think one thing with sandbags is they force you to get very good at extending the thoracic spine, which is further up the chain from the lower back. You don't often think about the upper back being a contributing factor to, say, lower back pain or anything. But I think because sandbags are so bulky and you're forced to extend that upper back so often, it's almost as if the upper back gets so strong that the low back just doesn't have to take as much of the load when you move to anything else. Just keeping a flat back when doing regular lifting, after just a little bit with sandbags, I found that where I used to kind of fold right in my mid back area, it just wasn't happening as much. And so there's probably something to that too.
And as far as like, let's think about this. Somebody gets their first sandbag, it's a little bit lighter. All the things that they can think about is maybe just trying to lift it to their shoulder or lifting it up. What are some movements that are like just sandbag staple movements to try to improve?
I mean, I like he was saying, the row. The row's a good one. I like doing sandbag rows, carries, squats. Like there's basic movements, and like I like to show on my Instagram other ways, because most people only see, all right, either strongman training with it, what you can carry it, okay, but I like to show like almost like a mixture of bodybuilding style with the sandbags to show that you can do, like I love doing floor presses with the sandbags or overhead pressing.
You just showed me incline pressing today with it, and I didn't even think about that.
Incline pressing, like I'll do bodybuilding style workouts with only sandbags and resistance bands, and it shows how much you can actually do with so little, and it's fun. Like sandbag training is fun, and it's a different feeling when you can lift that heavy sandbag up to your shoulder and work your way up to the heavier bag. Next thing you're thinking of is, all right, I want the next size up. Like it's a fun feeling to get that heavy sandbag finally up to your shoulder. It's fun.
Yeah, I want to say that these, obviously sandbags are not new, but they're just newer to me. And so that's why we've been kind of like diving into this a little bit more. Strongman people have been using this for a long time. So people watching or listening are like, hey, you guys are like, maybe 20 years too late. But I'm just seeing it become more popular, and it's something that it wasn't on my radar before, honestly. I have always had a major appreciation for strongman. I've always really liked it a lot. I just, I never thought it was for me. I was powerlifting, and powerlifting, to jump from powerlifting to Olympic lifting, or to jump from powerlifting to strongman, unless you're already very athletic, is probably a pretty big mistake. And I recognize that in my powerlifting career, that doing too much strongman stuff just wouldn't be a good idea. But I have adopted some stuff from strongman, obviously things like farmers carries and stuff like that. But the sandbags, they're on my radar now, and I really like them a lot.
Yeah, I think they represent the perfect middle ground of a lot of different places. A lot of different things meet there, because they are heavy lifting like you might do with the barbell, but they also are somewhat in that realm of moving with heavy weights. They're also heavy enough that you can build muscle with them. I think they connect. Sorry, the guy just fell on the video.
Wiped out.
But they connect a lot of things together. I think that it's for people who are realizing that muscle doesn't need to be the only thing that you train for. I think, but they still want to get muscle too. I think sandbags are the perfect step to go because you do build muscle, but you also build a type of strength that just is different.
JB, do you train for like endurance when you utilize it a little bit the way that he does?
I have before. I've seen his stuff. One of my favorite workouts is 100 sandbag ground to shoulder for time with the 150-pound sandbag.
Oh my God.
And I'll say it's a fun workout. I enjoy doing it, but it's like you have to be mentally prepared to go out to do it. You can't just, hey, let me take my pre-workout and go work out. You got to mentally
reps. Damn.
It's brutal, but it's fun. It's a good accomplishment when you're done. You feel good, but you work so much of your body at once doing that because it's a full body movement. But once I saw him doing the high rep box squats, I like challenges. So I saw that. I was like, oh, let me give this a try. And it's hard. And then we were kind of going back and forth like, all right, he did 50 with the 200. So I did 50. And then I think he did 60, and then I did 60, and then I did 70, and then he bumped it right up to 100 reps. And I'm like, now I have to do 100 reps because I'm not going to stop. Like, I'm going to keep trying. And it takes it to another level. It's mentally, I'll say it's just as much mentally as physically doing those 100 reps, because you got to put your mind in a different place to be able to continue to push yourself past that breaking point where your mind is telling you drop that bag. Like it's screaming at you to drop that bag, and you're fighting past that. Plus your legs are hurting, your hands are hurting, everything's hurting. So yeah, I've started doing that more. I've took a couple weeks off from doing them because once I hit 100 reps, I'm like, all right, I'm good. And then he went higher, and I was like, all right, I need a little break.
So, Mark, you have been loving wearing these Paluvas for a long time. Why is it that you like these shoes that look like this?
I'm trying to get my feet to be jacked. You know, I think it's funny how sometimes people will, when I wear these shoes, they're like, oh, those are different. And I'm like, well, maybe you should blame God because this is the human foot. This is the way that it looks. But Paluvas are awesome because it's going to allow you to train your feet and train your toes and allow for that toe spread because you got the 5-finger toe thing going on. It's like put on a glove for your feet. It feels amazing.
It's like walking around with toe spacers. You know, we've been working on our feet for a long time now. You always hear the benefit of people talking about like these tribes who have gone without shoes forever, and they have this toe space and have these amazing feet. And these shoes will allow you to just passively get that back by walking around.
You don't realize what a disadvantage you're at when your foot is all clumped together from the football cleats or soccer cleats or whatever else you were wearing when you were young. And so it's nice to be able to splay your toes. In addition to that, though, one thing I love about Paluva is the fact that it's not a regular barefoot shoe. I do love barefoot shoes as well, but it also has appropriate padding. And when you're stepping on some crazy pebbles and rocks and different things, like when I'm out on a run, some terrain is a little different than others. I don't have to be worried that I'm going to get some sort of stabbing, crazy thing happening to my foot because it has an appropriate amount of cushion underneath the foot.
And guys, Paluva has a lot of different styles on their website. I think one of the newest styles they just came out with, which is a little bit more of a rigorous do, is the Strand ATR. It's not these are the Strands, but the ATRs have a little bit more. If you want to go hiking with them, you totally can.
Those are amazing. If you go out, throw those on and go sprint on a field and your feet feel so strong, grabbing the grass and being able to actually grab the ground with your foot feels amazing.
I'm more of a chill guy with my Paluva, so I like the Zen slip-ons, but that's the thing. With Paluva, there's a lot of different options. So if you head to paluva.com and use code POWERPROJECT, you'll be able to save 15% off your entire purchase. And they also have toe socks. Their 5-finger toe socks are no show, so check those out too.
100 reps of shouldering it?
I've done 100 reps of shouldering of 150. I've done 100 reps of shouldering of 175. But with him, with the 100 reps of the box squat with 200-pound sandbag, I've done that, and it's brutal. It's mentally and physically brutal.
I've also done 100 rep sessions a couple times with a natural stone. I think it was like 165. And something that I noticed that's really interesting with it is when you're trying to improve technique, you often focus on singles with high rest times. You want every single rep to be exactly perfect. But something I noticed with those ultra high reps is they do seem to have really great carryover to technique, because as you fatigue, your body learns the most efficient way to do it because you're already 50 reps in. You don't want to do the exercise. So I've seen carryover to maybe not so much with the box squats because it's not a very technical exercise, but with the sandbag to shoulder or stone to shoulder, it doing those high reps seems to also help with improving technique, which carries over to max strength too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I like with the sandbag to shoulder and my high rep with the 150. Like if you look, because I take videos for Instagram, I'll see the videos of the first 10 reps and the last 10. It's like, you couldn't tell the difference between the last 10 and the first 10. So I like to make it so every single rep looks exactly the same. Like even the sandbag box squats, it's like you try to keep it as close to the same look of the rep.
We have no choice because it's you're doing so many. You just have to. Yeah.
It seems like it'd be great for a circuit too, to do a couple squats with it, put the thing down, and then do some lunges or like drag a sled or something like that, especially if you brought the sandbag outside. That's kind of one of the great things I think about some of these things is that we get to do these things outside. We don't have to really be trapped inside a gym as much. And you just, load a sandbag into your car and take it down the street and go outside and do some stuff with it. But you can implement it into a bunch of other type of training. I mean, in between you could be doing some lunges, and in between you could do some rope flow, and then you start the whole thing back over again. And the lunges and the rope flow would be like a nice break from how brutal the sandbag stuff is.
Yeah. I like doing big into using the maces. So I like breaking it up. Like I'll do some sandbag exercises, then the mace, and like some of my workouts are like so simple, but it's like heavy mace swinging and heavy sandbag. It's just back and forth. And it's like those two things, or throwing push-ups or stuff like that.
Both of you guys have equipment. Sorry. Both of you guys have equipment at home, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a
access
full
to-
setup. I just don't really use it anymore because the sandbag just does so much. It's in my garage, like the barbells and stuff. But that's I think a lot of people, the thing that prevents them from trying to train at home or outside, like you mentioned, is the fear of missing out, because these gyms have all of this equipment and every gym has it. So you start to think, well, it must be necessary to use that stuff if everyone has it. It's hard to believe that, lifting a sandbag and doing some push-ups could give you everything you want, but it can. And
the commercial gyms also have women, which makes it,
That helps too,
but that's distracting. You don't want too much of that going on.
No.
No, that's actually what I was about to ask you guys, because I think one of the cool things about this is a sandbag, some clubs, maybe some kettlebells, maybe a barbell, and your body at home. You have pretty much a full setup to get like just training sessions that can hit every single type of capacity. You don't need necessarily that much.
Yeah, that's why some of my videos, because I know a lot of people, the bodybuilding. So I try and show some bodybuilding style workouts where it's like a couple sandbags and a set of resistance bands and showing what you can do. Like I was talking to you, I'll do sandbag floor presses, then incline presses on the sandbag, and then I'll wrap a resistance band around the sandbag and do band flies. And it's like do a circuit of that, and it's like a bodybuilding style workout. And then I'll do some like tricep overhead extensions with the bands, or if I do a back workout, I'll do band bicep curls and add the band in with the sandbags, and you can get a good workout with just like 3 sandbags and a set of resistance bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting thing though, because like there's a few commercial gyms right by where I live, and I've been thinking of going and getting a gym membership just because hitting some of that barbell stuff again, but I just can't. I almost find it almost unnecessary. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it, but at this point, I'm like, why? It's pretty much like you mentioned in our last podcast. It might just be for the machines and maybe the rack.
It's kind of nice to go in and get a pump.
Yeah,
That's kind of nice to be like, I'm going to do those machines right there. You do like 3 or 4 of them in a row and you just get a good pump going and then you leave.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm more jacked than everybody here. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I think that when we're talking about sandbags, I almost feel like we're forced into a position of kind of trying to backpedal because people don't automatically assume that sandbags would work as well as other things.
Yeah.
So we're always kind of forced to take this stance of, well, it's at least as good as this stuff. And that's my whole thing, is to convince you it's at least as good. But in my experience, I've actually grown a lot more from sandbags than I did from anything else. And if anyone is unsure of how sandbags would build muscle, there's a thought experiment I like to do. Imagine you know nothing about fitness or exercise or anything. You've been kind of isolated. You don't have Instagram or whatever. And someone teleports to you and is like, hey, I'm going to show you these 2 things and which one is going to build more muscle. And on one hand, you have someone doing a lat pull down, leaving 1 or 2 reps in reserve, which is pretty popular. Not saying that's wrong. That's cool too. But then on the other hand, you have this guy carrying this giant sandbag bigger than a full grown person. And he's going and he's huffing and puffing until he falls on the ground. It just, obviously the guy lifting the sandbag it would seem like that would build more muscle.
Yeah.
But we have all this noise going around that we have to train in the modern way. And not to say it's wrong or anything, it's just not the only way. And sandbags, they work.
They work well.
Yeah.
Then also you get what Nsima mentions often on the show is why not do both?
Yeah.
Why not do a little bit of both?
You can always you can do everything.
And
yeah.
I think when you're younger, you have a really good opportunity to build a good skill set of strength, and you have a really good opportunity to lay down some pretty good amount of muscle. I don't know what it is about like just our youth, but like that there's like a good burst you can get, especially if people start early enough. I mean, if people start lifting later, then that's what it is. But if you start lifting at like 16, and you're able to hold on to that till you're about 20, you're going to probably have a pretty good hypertrophy burst within that time frame. And that hypertrophy burst is probably something that you can kind of hold on to forever. So I think some of the bodybuilding stuff and some of the maybe more traditional stuff, that'd probably be great times to do some of those things, and to gain some of that muscle mass. And then you have the muscle mass on you. I mean, I don't think and Sam and I were talking the other day about like losing weight, and I'm sure no one wants to hear our complaints about how we can't lose any muscle. But I'm like, dude, I'm just stuck at this weight, and it's very, very difficult to continue. I've lost over 100 pounds, but it's been hard to continue on that path to try to lose weight because of the stuff that I did when I was younger. That base is just laid down and it's just there.
Yeah, like I started out with barbells and all that, so I did have the base of muscle. I was fat, so I did have a base of muscle under fat before I lost the fat. But I will say I'm using the sandbags. Like I don't use them exclusively. I do some barbell stuff, but this is fun. Like it's fun for me to train this way. So it's like sometimes it gets boring with the barbells, but I like to also test myself with the barbells. Like I've PR'd a deadlift with no belt on from not deadlifting in a program for the longest time, but I've been lifting heavy sandbags for a long time. So it carries over to those things. So it's like, obviously it's doing something because I'm getting stronger at those implements. And I don't say it's a this or that. Like I like them all. It's just, to me, it's fun to train with them.
I think that's something to really keep in mind. Like you're training all these similar movement patterns, a squat, a hinge, a press, etc. And then you go and you test it on a barbell and you're stronger. It just shows that like you don't necessarily have to use that barbell to get stronger with the barbell. You can use a different implement, but this implement also has other things that you're not going to be getting from that barbell. Like if you've never trained with a sandbag, just that aspect of you see this guy holding this bag, all the tension that's being created, with the hands, with the forearms, pressing the bag against the body. There's just so much that's like tactile feedback that just does not happen when you lift a barbell, which is something you're going to get used to, but something you're going to get much stronger with than when you go back to a barbell. It's almost easy.
Yeah, like I say, it might not be as efficient as like using machines at a gym, but your body doesn't know the difference between if you're like weight is weight. So if you take a 200-pound sandbag and you're floor pressing it, you're still pushing it off your chest. Like your body doesn't know that it's not dumbbells, that it's not a barbell. It just knows it's pushing 200 pounds off your chest. So that's why I like to show like the bodybuilding aspect of it. Like, all right, sandbag rows. I like doing those. The floor presses. I mean, there's so much you can do, and it's not saying one's better than the other. It's just almost what you like to do. Which makes it fun.
I think there's an advantage sometimes to using less weight, in the case of the sandbag, I mean, we know that a 300-pound sandbag is a pretty big monster. 300 pounds of bar weight, we've seen a lot of people lift 300 pounds of bar weight in many different styles of lifting. But a 300-pound sandbag is a monster. And I think, something I saw Donnie Thompson do. Donnie Thompson is a legendary power lifter. He squatted like 1,300 pounds, something wild like that. And what he would do is he would actually do kettlebell snatches in between doing his dynamic effort box squats, and his dynamic effort box squats were done without a belt. And I asked him, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And this is a 400-pound guy who's not stopping while he's moving, while he's lifting, no rest. Had tremendous work capacity. And I asked him why he did it, and he said he did it so that he wouldn't end up using too much weight. Like he wanted to use less weight. And I think that sometimes people don't understand how important sometimes using a lesser weight could be. And in the case of him utilizing kettlebells, the kettlebells it's a way different feel doing like a kettlebell clean or a kettlebell snatch, or he was also doing some front squats, I think, with the kettlebells as well. And it was to specifically tire him out for his squats because he's a 1,300-pound squatter. Yeah. And he didn't want to use more than 5 plates on his speed work with 500 pounds on his box squats. But I mean, look at this guy. I mean, this is after he's well retired, but he was 400 pounds and he was still in great conditioning, even though he was a heavier guy. He still had this incredible capacity. So sometimes, it's not about necessarily the weight, but it's about like an optimal weight or an appropriate weight for what it is that you're doing. And I think it's a huge gift to be able to have something like a sandbag where now I could pick up 200 pounds, and now I'm completely stifled and occupied by trying to figure out what the hell do I do with this 200 pounds? Meanwhile, 200 pounds on any other lift, I could just throw it around the gym and do whatever I want with it.
Yeah, it's like sandbags are the ultimate more out of less weight tool. You get the similar stimulus on your muscles as if you were lifting twice the weight, but you don't have to. This is a kind of bro science territory, but do you remember when people used to say squats build your biceps? That was like a whole thing, and people don't seem to like it. I think the idea was that if you have that crazy stimulus that goes through your body, it can almost supercharge the other exercises.
Yeah.
And I feel like if anything was going to do that, of the things I've tried, it would be like a heavy bear hug carry to failure with a sandbag. It's almost as if you were combining sandbags with other traditional exercises, those might, bro science, maybe you would see faster gains from those exercises by combining them with sandbags.
Well, here's more bro science. Like there's something that just when you're going down and bending down and lifting that bag and throwing it up to your shoulder or doing whatever you're doing, there is something bro science that just seems more bro science primal about it. Like it's like, I mean, for everyone who has worked in construction or worked in on a farm or something, you'd be like, oh, I do that every day. But it's like manual labor. You know what I mean?
How they say farm strength.
Yeah.
Like some of those guys, they've never been in a gym in their life, and they're stronger than a lot of guys in the gym. Like it builds a different type of strength, and that primal strength is fun. Like lifting that heavy when you finally get like that 200, to me, it was the 200-pound sandbag. Once I got to my shoulder, it's like, that's a good feeling. And then now I can do that any day I want. Now it's like the 250, some days I can get it, some days I can't. It's like, that's the next one I want to be like, all right, any day I walk out there, I can be able to shoulder. It's like, that's my next goal. And it's a fun primal feeling to be able to know you can pick that heavy. Because then if you get some guys that have never trained with sandbags that are big from training in the gym, it's like they go to pick it up, they might not be able to get it off the ground. Yes. Or to their lap. Like a lot of it's technique, but it's a different type of strength as well.
Sandbag takes some oomph too. You know, it really does. It takes like you making some noise and you getting like, you can see it. You could see like a mindset switch in somebody, even someone that's stoic. You can see them kind of flip a switch when they know they have to, it's time to go lift that damn sandbag.
Yeah.
They might not be yelling and screaming, but you can see it in their demeanor and the speed at which they're kind of grabbing the sandbag. Where in lifting, you know, I used to get all hyped up for lifts and stuff too, but not everyone did it the same way. There's a precision and there's a way to kind of do it when you're lifting an actual barbell. But when you're lifting the sandbag, I think you're like, this is just pure grunt work. I gotta just, and you're gonna make some noise when you're doing it. And I found, and Seema kind of taught me this, that you make a little bit of noise while you're doing it, actually will help you to lift it quite a bit.
Yeah, it took me a long time to develop the ability to get to that place, because to shoulder anything above 200, I almost feel like I have to enter a place of do or die. Like if I don't complete this, something really bad is gonna happen. And if I don't have that, I just won't get it. And I feel like that is something that is necessary for all strength training sports. It's just something about sandbags made it so I was able to tap into it where I hadn't been able to before. But it does tap into that primal feeling, you could say. I mean, you could imagine that humans have probably been lifting awkward things for a long time. Maybe it's just hardwired into us.
I think so. You know, one thing I'll say is pretty cool is like, you know, you've shown all the sandbag training that you've done on YouTube over the years. And sometimes when we talk about some of this stuff, people are like, well, you've also lifted heavy barbells and dumbbells for a long time. How can you discount that? I'm like, okay, all right. Well, and then, but you know, you've been lifting for a while, but you've noticed a big shift in your muscle gain when you kind of lifted with sandbags, and you've gained a lot of muscle. So it's good to see people that have been doing that for a while that are noticing a big benefit more than like visually more than I have, right? So that's good to know that it can be done.
Yeah, I think they call it lifter's amnesia, where there's a couple videos on that where people did one thing and then now that they're at this late stage, they pretend that or they just forget and talk about doing the other thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for me, it really was when I switched to sandbags, I broke a many-year plateau and gained like 18 pounds of muscle in a couple of years after being stuck. And you could say that maybe I had built up.
I'm joking.
Yeah, maybe I had built up something in the muscles from all the work before where I was at a standstill, and I had like set myself up for success with the sandbags but I don't know, for whatever reason, it changed me for sure.
Yeah, I'm stronger now than when I exclusively worked out with the barbells and the sandbags. Obviously, it's made me stronger, so it's doing something. So I noticed that as well.
I first started hearing about transcriptions from Thomas DeLauer.
Yep.
And, Thomas is somebody, it's an animal with working out. You got a chance to work out with him. I worked out with him. And he's kind of always on the front lines of like, finding out about these new companies that have cool things. But I didn't really realize that Transcriptions was the first company to put out methylene blue. And now look at methylene blue. It's so popular. It's everywhere.
It's one of those things. If you guys listen to this podcast, I'm very iffy with the supplements that I take because there's a lot of shady stuff out there.
You got to be careful.
The great thing about Transcriptions is that when people want to get methylene blue, usually they'll go on Amazon, they're going on these other sites. It's not third-party testing. It's not dosed. A lot of people end up with toxicity from the blue that they get because there's no testing of it. Transcriptions, they have third-party testing for their products. It's dosed, so you know easily what exact dose of methylene blue you're getting in each trochee. So you're not making some type of mistake. There's not going to be anything in it. It's safe.
You can have it dissolve and you can turn your whole world blue if you want, or you can just swallow it. They have two different types of methylene blue. They have one that is, I believe, dosed at 16 milligrams, and they have another one that's dosed at 50 milligrams. So make sure you check the milligrams. I don't recommend anybody start at 50 milligrams, but the 16 I feel is very safe. You can also score the trochees, and you can break them up into smaller bits.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And in addition to that, on top of the methylene blue, they have a lot of other great products and stuff as well. They got stuff for sleep. They got stuff for calming down, all kinds of things.
I gotta say, I use it about 2 or 3 times a week. I use it before jiu-jitsu. And the cool thing that I've noticed, and I've paid attention to this over the past few months, is that after sessions, I don't feel as tired. So it's almost like I've become more efficient with just the way I use my body in these hard sessions of grappling. And it's like, cool, that means that, I could go for longer if I wanted to, and my recovery is better affected. It's pretty great.
I know Dr. Scott Schur, we had him on the podcast, and he talked quite a bit about how he recommends methylene blue to a lot of the athletes that he works with.
Yeah.
And they're seeing some profound impacts. And one of the things I've heard about it is that it can enhance red light. So those of you doing red light therapy, or those of you that have some opportunities to get out into some good sunlight, it might be a good idea to try some methylene blue before you go out on your walk or run outside or whatever activity it is that you're going to do outside.
And this stuff is great, but please, first off, they have that stuff for staying calm. They have stuff for sleep. But remember, this stuff isn't a substitution for sleep. This isn't a substitution for taking care of your nutrition. This is supposed to be an add-on to all the things that we already should be doing, and it's going to make things so much better if you're doing everything else too.
And I think this is just a little different too than just adding some magnesium to your diet. I think this is a little different than...
Yeah.
Treat these things appropriately. Make sure you do some of your own research. But
if you're taking medications, SSRIs, you better talk to your doctor first. Don't be popping these things.
And if you're taking any medications at all, it'd be good to double, triple, quadruple check and make sure that you're safe. Transcriptions has a lot of great things that you need, so go and check out their website when you have the opportunity. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.
There's something too. Mark mentioned a little bit earlier how he feels like he can just fight somebody now, right?
For the record, I don't want to fight anybody, but I feel like I can.
Sure, you don't want to get in a celebrity boxing or anything, Yeah.
No thanks.
But the cool thing about training with the bags is that with the way you lift it, the way you have to organize your body, also, obviously there is a technique you can have with it, but there's also a level of randomness of which you can lift the bag. I feel like it has improved my ability to be a better mover. Because when I think about these things, again, my litmus test is martial arts. My litmus test is like jiu-jitsu, how I'm moving there, right? And I can definitely feel and notice how gaining strength there has improved my movement ability in my sport as a grappler, as someone who fights. And that for me is huge because I've developed a lot of barbell strength and I can get much stronger with barbells. But as I develop that level of tension and strength, for me personally, it doesn't seem to carry over as well. I'm not saying that that you shouldn't train with barbells. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying with the way that these implements are lifted, they just lend themselves to movement ability.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it will complement your, like, even if you always do barbells and just lift some sandbags, it'll complement the barbell training and help you get stronger because it is working like the stabilizer muscle, like helps your body become more resilient and will carry over very well into the barbell training and like the jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. Lots of guys that have my sandbags are big into jiu-jitsu, and it really helps them because they're wrestling around a 200, 250 pound sandbag. When you get on the mats with a bigger guy, it's like, all right, you can be smaller and you know to manhandle someone that's bigger than you.
Mm-hmm. I remember we had Ian Danny on the podcast. He's an amazing strength coach, and he was talking about some people that he had drag a sled, and they'd drag a sled for like 10 minutes straight, and you would just have like maybe like a plate or plate and quarter on there. Not a lot of weight, but after a little while, that gets to be very demanding. And he talked about how much muscle it put on some people. And you hear stuff about like the protocols for muscle mass, like that does not follow the normal protocols for muscle mass. You're like, okay, it makes sense because somebody's like working a muscle continuously. But there's also no eccentric component supposedly to like dragging a sled. It's all concentric, and it's 10 minutes of straight work. So you don't normally associate those two things together. But I think it's also important, like I'm not going to ever discredit, some of the benefits of hypertrophy training. And I'm also not going to discredit bodybuilding. Like if you want to get jacked, the fastest line that we know to get there, like we know this for sure, like thousands upon thousands of people have done this repeatedly, is to do some bodybuilding. Eat like a bodybuilder and work out like a bodybuilder, and you're probably going to have some pretty profound results. But what we're sharing here today is that if you don't really love that stuff, and or you find that you might want to spend your time doing a couple other things, then it's kind of nice to know that you can mainly lift a sandbag, do unconventional lifting, and still gain some potential size from it.
Yeah, I feel like life just in general takes on this higher purpose when you have something that you enjoy doing to look forward to. And if you like muscle, but you don't like the training, the typical training with machines and everything, it's switching to something like a sandbag. If it's something that you connect with, if it's something you like, it can make all of life better, because now rather than getting up early to go do the thing you don't like, you jump out of bed because you're just so excited to go do this thing. And I think that's something we lose as we get older, maybe, or just, I don't know, as I can think back to times when I had this just unbridled joy, and it's most of those times when I was a little kid. You're so excited to get up and go do that thing, and if you can find a way to add that to your life, then why wouldn't you? And I for me, that's been sandbags. I can't help it. I just like it so much.
So fun.
Yeah,
it is a lot of fun. Yeah, you're bringing up a really good point. I just think about like my dog every time, anyone's dog when they go home, like how excited, like how do you live your life like that?
Yeah.
Like that's an awesome way to live your life. Imagine being that excited about the barbell, or that excited about lifting sandbags, or that excited about jujitsu every day, where you run around in a circle before you go and you're just wagging your tail. It'd be a great way to live your life.
It doesn't take work to, build up. You don't necessarily have to motivate yourself super hard to do the things that you like to do. Right. So let me ask you guys this. Have you guys always liked training with this stuff, or did it take you time to, like it?
Years ago, it was all the gym and barbells and stuff. I always wanted to look like a bodybuilder, but that never turned out well.
You're jacked. That's not true. You're jacked.
But it was more so during COVID. Like I have at my house a rack and barbells and dumbbells and stuff. But sometimes like that motivation at my house, it wasn't fun. Like it was like, all right, I got to go outside in the garage. So I bought a sandbag, and I was like, this is kind of fun. Like I went out there, I liked shouldering it. It was fun, different style workout. You feel all the muscles working together. Like he was talking about the biceps, like picking up a sandbag off the ground and getting it to your shoulder. Like in one of my videos I have, you see like the bicep veins popping out. So it's like, and if you do a lot of shouldering, when you're done, your biceps are sore too. Like, so it's like, if they're sore, they're being worked somehow. But it just became fun, and I was like, all right, I like this. Other people might like it, and I wanted to start a company that sold sandbags how I like them. And then I just continued doing that. And I do train with barbells and stuff sometimes, but to me, it gets boring. So I try and think of ways to, all right, I like the bodybuilding style workout. Let me see how I can incorporate the sandbags or the mace. Like I like that, those type of tools. They're fun. Swinging a heavy mace, it's so fun because there could be a big guy. That's another type of tool, like the heavy maces. Like a big guy might not be able to swing a heavy mace. And it's like, I like being able to swing heavy maces and lift heavy sandbags for my size.
There's this, you know, from when you mention the mace, there's a difference between lifting an object and wielding an object.
Like control.
Yeah. Cause like swinging, like controlling a mace or a club, it's like wielding a weapon or even a kettlebell. When you're not just lifting it, you are controlling it one way and another. We're wielding it. You're wielding literally something that could function as a weapon. It's not just lifting it. It's this level of control that you develop over it. That's just, again, it brings a level of enjoyment while you're still developing the aspect of strength and developing some muscle and developing movement ability, right? That's why it just ends up just being so enjoyable. Like Chris Chamberlain is a perfect example of this.
Yeah, this is a really great video. That he's using your bag. I think it's a 400-pound bag, but he filled it with rubber, right?
Yeah.
Rubber mulch. Yeah.
And it weighs, I think he said 120 pounds with the rubber mulch.
I think that's probably like a 160 something pound kettlebell. Well, he probably has the weight there. Oh yeah, let me not fucking shortchange him. It's 203 pounds.
And he's got a weighted vest on.
Yeah.
A white vest on. I mean, he's just an absolute animal. He doesn't count.
He's different. Like,
He is. He's different, man. He's unbelievable. Chris Chamberlain. Shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he say he's the one who did like 500 pounds cold every morning?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
500-pound deadlift every day.
Just
Yeah.
without any warm-ups.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah. So you just decided one day out of the blue that you want to make your own sandbags.
well, I liked them, so I'm like, hey, let me see if I can turn this into a business because I thought it was a lot of fun. And
you just bought a sewing kit and started stitching things together. What happened?
Found a manufacturer to do them for me.
Cool.
But yeah, because I figured if I'd like them, other people might. And most people you only see like the strongmen using them. Big, heavy ones just carrying it. And that's what you mostly see in like strongman competitions. Mm-hmm. But there's so much more you can do with it. And so I like implementing it into my training and also being able to show people how they can use them if they never used them before.
So you make different types of sandbags though too, right? Like I just saw an image of like an Atlas stone looking one.
Yeah, I call it the full sturker. It's like a Husafell style, but it's slightly, just a little bit different than the other ones. So I called it something different, but yeah.
That seems super cool. And then you have the other one is the one that's got the handles on it and the straps and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I have the training sandbags that probably most people have seen before with all the handles on them. Everything that I make, I kind of design it to the way I like them to be used. So like the training sandbags have the handles in the spots that I find to be perfect because I actually use all the equipment. So some of these people, I don't think train with them all the time. So they don't, because you use one of their sandbags and it's like, do you ever use this? Because
That's horrible.
And so I implement things that I think make them better and more user-friendly, because if it's user-friendly and you enjoy it, you'll keep doing it.
Yeah, you went out of your way to make sure that your product's not going to explode on anybody or it's not going to leak, because that is a big problem. You know, I've used a bunch of sandbags over the years. We had a few at Super Training, and it was like you always left a trail of sand behind you.
Yeah.
A lot of those were just like cheap, canvas things that people tied up themselves or whatever. But yeah, you went to great lengths to make sure that your bag is very durable.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it so that I want it to be the best. I don't want to just be, here's some sandbags. I want them to be, I'm going to buy these ones because they are the best. So I try and do everything I possibly can to do that.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, over the years, I've learned a lot from guests that have come onto this podcast, and I've taken the time to learn many different movement practices. So, for example, if you wanted to learn rope flow, which is a practice I think is just beneficial for everyone, I have a free rope flow foundations course at school.com/thestrongerhuman. Now, the Stronger Human community actually has over 11,000 members, so it's a great community there, but you'll also be able to learn rope flow for free, along with many other things I teach in there, like kettlebell flow, kettlebell juggling. all that good stuff. So head over there. Along with that, if you're looking for where to get your equipment as far as ropes, maces and clubs, sandbags, all that good stuff, you can head over to the StrongerHuman.store. And on that site is where I have all of the different functional fitness equipment that I use to become a stronger human. So check those out, and let's get back to the episode. Yeah, if you want something good that's going to last you a while rather than something that's going to break down after a few months.
And you have everything at your house. So you're selling stuff out of your home, and then you are also lifting in your home, right?
Yeah, my garage is where I keep all my sandbags and stuff. But yeah, my warehouse is my basement, and my employees are my kids. They like to help, but
Child labor.
Yeah,
Best labor.
I'm a one-man show for now, so.
You said your 5-year-old son's like printing shipping labels and stuff,
Yeah,
right? Quinn used to put stickers on stuff. She was like 3. She'd just like, something would come out and we'd package it and then she'd put a sticker on it.
Let's go.
Yeah, he learned as soon as I brought up like your order, he learned every button to press on the thing to purchase a shipping label, print it out, and then he takes it off the printer and puts it on the package when I package it up. And that's like become his favorite thing.
Smart kid.
So I like it because it's like he's showing interest and he wants to help. Anytime I go down to my basement, he's like, "Are you doing packages?" I'm like, "Yep." And he's like, "Wait for me." I'm like, "Okay." And he helps bring them upstairs, and yeah.
That's sick. Did it take you a while to like figure out exactly how you wanted them and stuff like that? Because I know you said you found a manufacturer. You don't have to give away too much details on that, but
No, I won't.
it must have been a little bit of a process to like figure out how to not have it leak and everything else.
Yeah, because like I didn't want it to just be, oh, I buy from this manufacturer and slap my logo on it. Like I wanted it to be mine. Like there's tons of those on Amazon where it's like, all right, they just get them made with their logo and everything. So mine are custom dimensions to the way I like them to be used. They're slightly skinnier. They're like 15-inch diameter, up to 300 pounds, but they're 15-inch diameter, so they're kind of easier to wrap your arms around a little bit. They have slight play in them, so they're not like a solid brick when they're filled to the correct weight. They have a little bit of play, but they're not super floppy. And then I do other things like on the internals to make it hold in the sand and so that it doesn't leak. So a lot of them you'll see at a gym when they drop, like dust poofs out of them.
Yeah.
And I try and do everything I can that make it so it doesn't, because the sand, as you're dropping it, the sand kind of breaks down into dust. So I try and do everything I can to make it so that that will not happen. Because that's a big complaint, like in a lot of like gyms, like CrossFit gyms, like don't want to have them at their gym because they don't want sand to be on the floor. So I'm trying to make it like, no, I want your gym to have it and mine won't leak like some of the others.
I know we mentioned rubber mulch in terms of like filling much bigger bags with that. Like 400-pound bag with rubber mulch is going to be maybe 150. But do people ever fill sandbags with other stuff like rice? Does people do that? Would there even?
I've had someone ask me about rice.
Yeah.
I've never filled one, so I think they asked me how much would it weigh if you filled it with rice. I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's a Chat GPT question.
But some people will fill them with pea gravel.
Pea gravel. Okay.
Because it's not thin like the sand, but they fill it with the pea gravel because they see the other sandbags that when you drop them, they leak sand. So they assume that all sandbags will do that, but
No, yours don't.
not all of them do, but you see some of them. So you assume, oh, all sandbags must leak sand. So I'll use pea gravel in it. But I think pea gravel will make it feel, if you fill like a 150-pound sandbag with 150 pounds of sand, it has a certain feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you fill it with the pea gravel, it would be slightly looser feeling. If you just filled it to 150, like
Yeah.
it might be like slightly, a little bit looser feeling. So all my bags are sized to using dry play sand. So if they're a little off when you get one, it's because of your sand.
And then people order your bags. They go on your site, they order them, and then they have to get sand from somewhere else,
Yeah.
just wherever they can get it, like locally or whatever.
You always say like go to
Lowe's,
Home Depot. Just make sure, try and get dry play sand because it's way easier to fill when it's dry. It won't leave like a wet mark when you move your sandbag. If it's wet and you move the sandbag, there'll be a wet mark there, and it messes with the weights. So if you fill it with wet sand, it might be heavier than what you thought. And then if you weigh it and then take out the sand to be like 150 pounds, it might be too loose now, like feeling.
Are the customers confused sometimes? Like when they order Sandbag, are they like?
I mean, I have it on my
I mean,
website.
I have really dumb customers, so I don't know if you got the same ones I got. But
No, all my customers are great people. No, it's only happened a couple times where they'll ask beforehand.
Right.
Does it come? But I have it on my website to
Yeah.
say like these come unfilled, because if you bought a 150-pound sandbag and it came filled, your shipping is going to be more than $10. Like it's going to be a lot more than $10. So yeah, just a couple times.
and then you sell a book, right?
Yeah. I have a book called Sandbag Hypertrophy. It's on Amazon.
Was it hard for you to write that? I know you said you write a lot of your YouTube dialogue. Was it hard for you to write that?
I made it harder than it should have been. So I was kind of at this point where I have my own business where I do like animal care and stuff, but I decided, well, I need to have something for the channel because I was starting to get a lot of subscribers. I needed to have a book or something that would monetize the channel a little bit. So within like 2 months, I just spent every hour that I had free just in the room, just grinding away, writing this thing. But it was really fun to write it, and I think it turned out pretty good. And it's done really well. I think it's getting close to like 150 reviews on Amazon, so it's doing pretty good.
Said it actually ranked higher than Starting Strength.
Yeah, yep. For a week, it was higher than Starting Strength in the Renaissance Periodization book. So it was #1. So I can say that I am a Amazon best-selling author.
That's
It's
real.
pretty cool.
That's real.
Yeah, but it's kind of a mix between a guide on basic exercises, and there's like a couple programs at the end, and then there's some motivational stuff in there, which is always my favorite. I didn't want to make just another book that says, here are the exercises, here are pictures, and this is how you do it. I wanted something that made you motivated to do it too, because I just like reading stuff like that. I was influenced by books like written by people like Bud Jeffries, and they're just fun to read. You know, they make you want to lift heavy things. So I tried to make it as motivating as I could.
Bud Jeffries, Twisted Conditioning.
Yeah.
Great book.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Where can people find you guys?
You can find me on Instagram at Freedom Strength Co. And then my website is freedomstrength.us.
And how about yourself?
It's the Stone Circle on YouTube and the Stone Circle Training on Instagram.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.